Here we go into game 69, or 70. Game 70, and we have a slightly new deck. We cut the Enzoth package for Baleful Banker, and then just some good early game tools. Thalnos, who also happens to cycle, bees, and Snip Snap, which is just kind of flexible, good card. I just felt like Kartoot Defender and Sludge Belcher were just really bad. The only reason we were playing them was because of Enzoth. And I really wanted Thalnos in this deck. So, let's see how it does. Our new way of getting tons of value instead of with Enzoth is with Baleful Banker. Okay, one other thing to note. We did also take out Mishfin, Archboar Mishfin. So we just have less 10 drops in our deck, so dumping our hand for at least duplications should be a lot easier. Alright, so on to the game. We are against a rogue. I was thinking it's probably odd rogue, so that's why we kept the aggressive cards and anti-aggressive cards in our hand. But we see no Baku hero power. We see Feral Cat. I'm thinking it's probably Galakrond rogue. There's a lot of people playing it. It's similar to the standard list. In fact, I've seen people just play the exact standard list here in Wild, and it does okay when they curve out. I imagine it has no chance against Quest Mage. And against aggro decks it probably struggles, but it's a good mid-range deck against control decks. Here we get to see the power of bees removing the 3/2 while leaving over 2 1/1s. So good. Opponent seals fate. One of the bees daggers the other one just to protect their minions. This turn is interesting. I could Fendrel coin Spellstone the 3/1. Then Fendrel is at risk of dying. Instead, I just hero power the 1/1 and Spellstone the 3/1. This way, next turn we can coin Fendrel plus Wrath. And I think with the way our hand is, we don't have too many cards to play. So coining out the Fendrel on this turn, I think, was not super great. Just because we don't have much of a follow-up other than the Wrath. I decided just to go with double Snip Snap instead, just because the Wrath isn't super great against the 3/2 with the Fendrel. And Snip Snap is just so good here. We see it just puts out so many stats over 2 bodies. Really a good card. We do not want to magnetize them in case that they run Sap. I imagine that deck would want to run Sap because of Q-Block. So now we got a great target for the Wrath. We're just going to go with that Fendrel Wrath play. Remove their 4/4, draw a card, put down a 3/5. Pretty good for 6 mana. And definitely trade off one of their lackeys. We're trying to protect Fendrel here. And we're just nowhere near doing lethal damage, so no reason to go face. See the Heist Baron? I was just making sure I traded into a lackey, Because if we hadn't and we left the lackey on board, that would have been a misplay. But nope, they had 2 lackeys. We did the best we could. They do remove the Fendrel with the Rush lackey. Lothab is a great draw here. We can turn off the Togwaggle spell. And then I consider putting a Baleful Banker onto the Lothab. Lothab seems okay in this matchup. And then we get a 2/2 on the board. But I decide I'd rather use the Banker on Elise, which we have in our hand. And sometimes you might go to Fatigue. They have Galakrond in their deck, which gives them lots of value. So we might need to go Infinite. So that is why I decided to hold on to the Baleful Banker. They play the Togwaggle spell anyways. It's the summon 2/8/8 or summon 2 legendaries, which gives them 2/8/8s. I think that actually should be picked a lot more often than it is. Most people just pick the Crown that draw 3 and reduce their cost to 0. But I think there's a lot of cases where you want to pick this one. So we're just gonna go with the Poison Seeds. We don't want to play out Zephyrus to deal with the 8/8s because we want to duplicate Zephyrus with the Elise in our hand. But yeah, just that 3 mana summon 2 legendaries I think is so underpicked. It's so good. It usually actually gives you more tempo than 3 cards from your deck that cost 0. Because you just have lots of cheap cards that are just invoking Galakrond and doing stuff like that, but like summoning 2 8/8s is just so much more. Just a few minions from our opponent. I think we're just going to go with Malfurion. Actually, I think this is when we do Elise. Just Elise Banker. Puts out some decent stats. We can now have an extra Zephyrus, so if we need to use Zephyrus in the upcoming turns, we can do that. It's also nice duplicating the Living Root, so we can play 2 of those this turn. Yeah, I think this just affects the board the most without using Zephyrus. Malfurion's minions were just not great. The poisons get traded into from the Treants, and the 1/5 taunts just don't do much either. We see a flick from our opponent. That's really good. They remove our Elise that we just shuffled into our deck, so we can no longer go Infinite. I guess that is something I should consider. That deck definitely runs flick. I think of saving the Grizzled Wizard Malfurion combo to deal with the Galakrond hero power. I consider playing Malfurion with the 2 1/2s with Poisonous. We do have 2 Malfurions, so we can save 1 for the Grizzled Wizard still. And I think I like that play. I think Malfurion... I go for Zephyrus instead. Okay. I think I would have liked Malfurion more in saving Zephyrus for a more difficult situation, but we just pick out Tyrion. Tyrion's pretty good. They've already used their flick, though it could possibly be Shadow Stepped, and they might run Sap. Yeah, I think the Malfurion play was better, but it ends up not really mattering. Our opponent has a combo that is pretty cool here. Spirit of the Shark with the Umbral. I think that's what it is, the one that gives them coins. Really strong. Yep, I'm thinking they're going to play that card that combos does damage for each card they've played this turn. It'll get doubled by the Spirit of the Shark. And so I believe that rogue card is 4 mana. It gives them 3 coins normally if you've invoked Galakrond twice. But since they have the Spirit of the Shark out, it doubles that, so they get 6 coins. And so each time you play it, you're casting 7 spells. And yeah, that's pretty cool. That looks really powerful to me. I wonder if there's something to that deck. Rogue already does pretty good against aggro with all their tempo tools. And if they have a way to close out the game like that. What's interesting is I think that combo's in standard as well. So if it was good, it probably would have been found out by now. Maybe it's just inconsistent or something. Anyways, here we go into game 71. Up against a Mage. Gonna mulligan as if they are Secret Mage. So we're gonna keep the Reno Jackson. It is pretty good against Secret Mage. Decide to keep the Tar Creeper as well. Living Roots for the 2 1/1s. Pretty good at contesting board. We see the Quest, so we're up against Quest Mage. I'm just going to curve out with this 2-drop, and next turn we got a 3-drop to follow up. We have beaten Quest Mage before by just being aggressive curving out. Not much to do here other than Tar Creeper and go face. No need to trade into their minion. Another Questing Explorer, which is a pretty good start from our opponent. Those are the cards you want to play as Quest Mage. Star Scryer. We got a 4-drop, so we'll just keep curving out. Here we want to make the trade, the 1/1 into the 3/1. It's just too good of an opportunity trade. I decide I also want to trade into their Questing Explorer to give them less options to do trades with. Although, looking back, I think that second trade into the Questing Explorer we didn't need to do. I think we could have just gone face there. We wouldn't have gotten... It'd be hard for them to come up with some sort of punish for not trading there. We have no disruption tools yet, but we've just kind of been winning the board, which is nice. And it makes our opponent play defensively, which ends up being pretty beneficial. They're playing the Mana Cyclone off of not many spells. I'm just going to cycle with the Crystal Merchant here. Loatheb is excellent. If we can get some duplicates on that, we can just lock them out of playing most of their deck. Okay, Arcane Explosion doesn't do too much. Book of Specters doesn't do too much either. opponent does trade into the Tar Creeper and make the bump onto the Crystal Merchant. I think that was a good play. We draw in Floop, and I think the play is just quite simple. We just Loatheb. Next turn we can Loatheb as well. Our opponent doesn't have much of a board, and we can actually just push lethal here. It looks like it's just going to be another game where we just aggro down the Quest Mage. They have Flamewaker, but we don't care because we have another Loatheb. And then Zephyr is just an amazing draw, so we can get lethal on the following turn almost certainly. I'm thinking of mulching the Flamewaker, but I think we can do better. I think with Hero Power Spellstone we can remove 2 of their minions. And Flamewaker's not going to do much, so we just clear up most of their board. The Flamewaker's just a 2/4 and push some damage. Breath of Cindergosa is not going to do it. They're at 8. We've got 8 on board. Good game.